Broadcasting from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show, the show that discusses arcade repair, restoration, news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Tim and Jonathan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to what we're calling episode 2.5 of the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show. My name is Jonathan Leung. I'm the producer, director, and editor of the Arcade Repair Tips video series, but you may notice that there's somebody who's missing. Yes, unfortunately, Tim had some family issues that he had to take care of, so he will not be joining us tonight, but hopefully all that will be taken care of and we can do another episode with him real soon. So what we're going to do tonight, instead of normal, live show like we normally do, we're just going to do a live show kind of recapping what we did in episode 2. And the main reason for that is if you've tried to watch episode 2, you probably noticed that it's not the best quality, and a lot of that is just because we had some streaming issues, the software, we're still kind of working some kinks out, and so this is kind of a test run as for the new software, new connections and stuff, as well as reviewing some of the content that you may have missed on episode 2. So like we said, we're calling it episode 2.5. So before we get started, I do want to thank all of you guys for joining us live. Today is May the 4th, so as in Star Wars Day, so may the 4th be with you. I'll say that real quick for all the Star Wars fans out there. But we do want to thank you guys for joining us this afternoon for this show. And hopefully this one will turn out a whole lot better than the last one. So before we get started, I do have basically the same stuff we covered in episode 2, along with some additional questions that we'll go over. We do have the live chat available too, so if you want to send messages, you can. Since there's only one of me tonight, I may not be as responsive in the chat, but we'll try to get to those at some point if I just happen to glance over there and we have some time. So, I mean, the goal for tonight is hopefully to get a really solid stream and to go over some of the material you may have missed in episode 2. Now, before we get started, before we work into questions or anything like that, I do want to show you guys some of the stuff we've been working on. Now, if you caught part of episode 2, you may have noticed that we talked about that I was restoring a game or working on a conversion of a game for my church. And so they're in the process of getting a 419-in-1 vertical game. And in this process, you know, I'm buying some parts and things like that. Well, one of the things I wanted to do, even though the game is going to be set on free play, I wanted to be able to take basically any kind of coin that people put in it. So that way, you know, if their coins end up in the box, I can just give it to the church. It can be a donation or whatever. And so I looked around for, you know, something that would basically take any coin, a mech of some sort. And I found this really cool plastic kind of mech looking thing called the AnyCoin, and this is the version 3.0. It's made by Arcade Plastics, and it's a really nice kind of fake coin mech, I guess you could say, but it's supposed to take anything from, you know, normal size tokens all the way down to dimes. And so I'm kind of excited to try this out to see how it works in this project, to see if it does actually take any coin like it says. I got this from our good friends at highscoresaves.com. For those of you guys who have seen our video on the Donkey Kong upgrade kit, that same kit we also got from highscoresaves.com. Great website for getting all sorts of different parts and things from, especially on multi-game kits and things like that, and high score save kits. So they had these. They were $10, and I mean, for $10 I think it's great. I know some people out there have like rigged up like a cardboard sleeve to basically take all the coins, and that's a good way to handle it too. I wanted something that was a little bit more durable than that, and also something that, you know, gave me a little bit more flexibility as far as the coins and things without having to do all the rigging myself. And so the AnyCoin version 3 here I think is going to do the trick, but we'll give you more information on that once I get it installed and actually taken care of. But you guys can order this again from highscoresaves.com, the AnyCoin version 3.0. You know, I'm going to try it out. I'll let you know what we find once we give it our, once we put it through its paces. So anyway, so again, thanks for joining us. Now, like I said, we're going to be going over a lot of the same content we went over in episode 2. So if you've seen parts of episode 2, a lot of this is going to be familiar to you, but that's so we can kind of get a clean copy, if you will, of the things that we went over. So let's get started by just going over basically the same outline that we were going over before. And so we're going to start with some of the comments we got on episode 1. Of course, a lot of the comments for episode 2 talked about the poor streaming quality. That's to be expected. So we're going to go back and look at some of the ones from episode 1, and we'll go ahead and read them off here. And we have one from Christopher, and Christopher says, "Thanks for doing the show. I will submit a question for the next episode. Also, show us more of your game room." And I think I said when we talked on episode 2 that I would show you more of my game room, but at the moment it's kind of a wreck. I do have an overhead camera though I'm going to switch to real quick so you guys can see some of it. So you'll see me here. This is me. Hi, everybody. I know there's a little bit of a delay there, but you'll see over here. Let's see if I can kind of time it to my left. This is the project game. It's going to be the 14-in-1, the Raiden 2. Those of you guys who follow us on our Facebook page have probably already seen it. Up here, if you're looking up in the upper left-hand corner, is my 2 pinball machines. I have a Monopoly and an X-Men. I have an Arcade Classics that's a converted joust cabinet that has a Game Elf board in it. And then I have the Donkey Kong that you guys have seen in the video where we did the high score save and upgrade kit. And then there's a Pac-Man Cabaret over to the side. Now all this is messy, guys, so just kind of ignore that. But just to give you an idea of some of the stuff, hopefully I can get all this cleaned up at some point and give you a better idea. Of course, I've got some of the ones behind me here too. I've got a Miss Pac-Man, Police Trainer, Galaga, and on the end it's a Street Fighter 2 Turbo Marquee, but it's actually a main machine. So but those are just some of the games that I have around here in the game room. So at some point, we'll give you more of a tour, like maybe an official tour, but not tonight. So and let's go ahead and go through here. More of the outline. Damien says, thanks for putting the show together. This is a great way to try to connect the dots for all of us beginners. And that's our goal here at Arcade Repair Tips, of course, is to help beginners especially get accustomed to some of the terminology and some of the things that we talk about in arcade repair. And so hopefully we've accomplished that through some of the things that we've done as far as the videos and the posts and all that kind of stuff that we've gone over in the past, of course, and currently with the live show. So let's continue on here in the outline. We also had one from Philberto. He says, I love hearing that intro song again. I've missed it. So glad to see you guys. You've helped me gain some confidence in building and fixing arcade machines. I'm getting ready to install my first cap kit on my Street Fighter 2, which was working before I transported it. Now it's in high voltage shutdown. Wish me luck. Hope to see you guys at TPF. And so, yeah, he's having, obviously, Phil here is having some problems with his Street Fighter 2. Hopefully that cap kit will get it solved. We were lucky enough to meet Phil, which is what he wanted us to call him, when we went to Texas Pinball Festival in March. And he was a really nice guy. We were hoping to meet back up with him for the podcast that we did. Unfortunately, we just had so many schedule conflicts that it was hard to get a solid time down for that. So, Phil, I'm sorry that you missed that. But, hopefully next time we can nail down some of the particulars a little bit earlier and get all that taken care of so we can let you know ahead of time without kind of giving you the runaround on that. So, Phil, sorry about that. Hopefully your Street Fighter 2 is up and running after that cap kit, too. Well, guys, of course, I am monitoring the live chat, so if you guys are watching this and want to chime in, like I said, I don't know how often I'm going to be able to look over there and actually see what's going on, but I do see that, we've at least had somebody say hello. Hello, Lou, how are you? And so if there's other people in there, if you want to chime in, of course, feel free to do that. So we're going to go over a lot of the questions, like I said, from episode 2. Of course, if there are questions in the live chat that I can answer, I'll try to do that. Some of them we may need to wait for Tim for, of course. But we'll try to do our best, and we'll just go forward from here. So let's go ahead and get into the questions real quick. And this first one we had is from Dave. And Dave says, I have a low-res Pac-Man game and a medium-res Cruisin' Exotica driving game. The monitors are kaput! Exclamation points. I want to upgrade to an LED or other high-res non-CRT monitor. Any suggestions on a monitor out there or TV that would work on these games? Your help will be greatly appreciated. Okay, so Dave has a I keep doing that. Dave has a Pac-Man game, and he has a medium-res Cruisin' Exotica driving game. He says the monitors are kaput. Now, as most people know, we're always going to recommend that you try to fix the monitors that are in the game before replacing them. And the main reason for that is because a lot of times it is cheaper, and we do like the original CRTs being in the game. Of course, many of you know that CRTs are going away. It's harder and harder to get those. And so, we're always going to recommend that you try to, basically fix what's in there before you replace it. But if you really want to replace a monitor in an arcade game with an LED, LCD, he said LED, of course, non-CRT. LCD with LED backlighting is a lot of times what we think of when we think of LED. And so, if you want to replace it with an LCD, then, we would always recommend going with an arcade quality one, which you can get from Wells Garner, you can get from HAP, of course, and other other major arcade retailers, of course, parts suppliers. So those are always going to be the ones that we recommend because those are the ones that will hold up the best in arcade games. They're designed to be used in arcade games. And so for us, I mean, it's always going to be, if you're asking us which one we want to put in a game as a replacement, use an arcade quality LCD when you replace it. Now, you can use off the shelf, you could use a TV or a computer monitor or something like that, but a lot of times you'll have to get some sort of converter board in order to do that, which can present lag if you're not careful. So, you know, games like fighting games, for instance, where lag is a big deal, that can cause a bit of an issue. But in most games, lag's not going to be that big a deal. Mounting a TV or computer LCD monitor can be difficult depending. The nice thing is that a lot of them do have VESA mounts, so you can use the VESA mount to do that. But overall, I mean, arcade monitors are ready to go. A lot of them already have the mounts on them. You don't have to worry about mounting them as you know, kind of rigging up a mounting system for it. So in most cases, Dave, we're going to recommend that you go with an arcade quality LCD if you are going to replace it. Again, if the monitors are kaput, you may want to consider maybe shipping the chassis off to somebody who may be able to fix it for you, but ultimately it's your game, it's your choice. So if you want to replace them, that's fine, but again, we're going to always recommend a arcade quality LCD for replacement. Okay, so Dave, hopefully answers your question, and good luck with the replacement of the monitors on the Pac-Man and the Cruisin' USA games. Okay, guys, so I've got another one here, and this one's from Jackie, and so we'll go ahead and get into Jackie's question. And Jackie says, "Hi, my name is Jackie, and I have a Mortal Kombat arcade game and love it. However, my screen went black. I can hear it playing, but no picture. Can you help me? My husband's birthday is coming up, and I would love to see if I can get this fixed for him. He misses playing it, and it would be so awesome if I could get it up and running again. Thank you for your time, Jackie." Well, Jackie, I understand that. I think you, first off, are a great wife for wanting to get this fixed for your husband's birthday, so hopefully we caught you in time to try to do that. You know, this is common, of course. We have, you know, monitors that just kind of go black. And so we would highly recommend that you check out our post on troubleshooting games that are playing blind, because that's basically the symptom that you're describing. Anytime you can hear a game playing, but you don't see anything on the actual screen, no picture, a lot of times that means that your game is playing blind. And so we have some steps that you can go through on troubleshooting games like that, some things that you can check. And so we highly recommend checking that out. Now, if you want some specific information about what's going on, then we would highly recommend that you get back to us with the model and make of your monitor chassis so we can help you troubleshoot it further. Because the one we go over in that video in particular is a K7000 chassis, but depending on what kind of chassis you have in your Mortal Kombat may depend on what fix you end up employing. And so if you get back to us with the type of chassis, make and model that you have in that Mortal Kombat machine, we can give you more specific information on how to fix it. If you're not sure how to determine that, Bob Roberts has a What's My Monitor page at therealbobroberts.net that you can visit. If you do a search for What's My Monitor, a lot of times it'll come up. So if you do an internet search for that, you'll find it, and that will give you a whole bunch of pictures that you can compare your chassis to see if you can determine a make and model. Because sometimes it's not so clear on the chassis itself. It may not be labeled, it may not have anything that indicates exactly what it is. And so the What's My Monitor page on the realbobroberts.net website should help you identify it if you need help there. So again, highly recommend checking out our video on troubleshooting games that are playing blind, and then get back to us with the make and model of your chassis for additional information that we can give you that may help you out with your repair. Now, Jackie, again, if you're not real familiar with soldering, with doing these kind of repairs yourself, then you may just want to ship it off for repair. And if you want to do that, that's fine too. We have several people who repair monitors that we recommend on our resources page at arcaderepairtips.com/resources. There's a monitor and board repair section on there that you can go to, where we have several people that we recommend for that service. So those are your options, Jackie. Of course, you can go through some of the steps that we talk about in our post on troubleshooting games that are playing blind. You can get back to us with your make and model. We'll try to give you some additional information, or you can just ship the chassis off for repair and hopefully get it back in time for your husband's birthday. So I think you're a great wife for doing what you're doing. Good job. And hopefully you can get that game working very soon for him. Great stuff. So let's go on here now. And I got a question, it looks like from Tay. Okay, so we'll move into this. So Tay says, "Hi, I was wondering where I hook up the on and off switch and marquee light on an arcade cabinet. I am using a standard arcade power supply with +5, -5, and 12 volts. Okay, so Tay, I understand this. This is a question actually we get quite a bit. People not knowing exactly where to hook things up in their games. And I mean, don't feel bad about that. It's definitely something that can get a bit confusing. And so what I've done here, speaking of the real Bob Roberts, is I've taken one of his diagrams from his website to give you an idea of what you're supposed to do. So what we have here is a nice little diagram, and you'll see here the power cord comes in here, and I can move this out of the way, I think, so we can kind of give you a better shot of it. But you'll have, the power cord comes in here, you'll see the fuse, and a lot of times you'll have this little AC filter, which is a little silver AC filter that those wires will go into. It's not on every game, but a lot of games have them, especially, newer games, it seems like. And then you'll see here is where the AC on-off switch is, okay? So basically you take one of the prongs here, and, in this particular instance, we're taking the black or the hot brown, just depending on the AC wiring you have, and we're putting that through the switch, and we're coming out then to our power distribution block. And so that's where you want to wire your AC switches, right after the filter, because we want it as pretty close to the AC cord, because if it's going to power everything on and off in the game, then it needs to be before we get to everything in the game, which is usually what we use the power distribution block for. And so you want to use your hot wire, you want to put it through this AC, through the AC on-off switch here, and that's where you're going to put it. Now, you also said marquee light, and so a lot of times what we'll do is we'll use this power distribution block, which is like a terminal strip. For those of you guys who aren't familiar, you can look up terminal strips. But we'll use this terminal strip here, and part of the wires that come off that terminal strip will wire directly to the marquee. And you'll see here that he has fluorescent marquee fixture up here. And so this is past the switch, of course, right here in the power distribution block. So from here, you'll have one set of AC wires that go over to your switching power supply. You'll have another set that go over to your fluorescent marquee light. And then you'll have another set that goes to your isolation transformer that goes to your monitor, as you can see here. And so this diagram kind of gives us, I think, a really good idea of exactly what's going on with the wiring. So again, AC switch goes usually right after the AC filter. We usually want to put the hot wire through that. And then the marquee light usually comes out of the power distribution block all the way just right from there. So you'll have a neutral and hot wire that'll go directly to that, and you can also run an earth ground to that as well, like he mentioned. So I think that gives you a pretty good idea of what's going on here. So Tay, hopefully that answers your question. I mean, there's a lot of obviously the diagram I think does a really good job. If you want to see it, and I don't know if you noticed, but over here I put the URL, therealbobroberts.net/AC wiring. So I mean, that's what you're kind of looking at. And I don't know if you guys can see my cursor. You may not be able to, but I'm just kind of, just to give you guys some information there, that's what you're looking at. So therealbobroberts.net /AC wiring will give you this diagram as well. So hopefully that answers your question, and good luck wiring up all your stuff. Okay, I'm going to stop here for a second and just make sure you guys can hear me. I do see, I mean, it looks like we're getting audio, but I just want to make sure. So if you're in the live chat and you're watching and you can hear me, please say something. Just say I can hear you or whatever in the live chat, so that way I know that all this is going out and we're not having any issues. So, but sometimes people say that, sometimes not. So again, just let me know if you guys can hear me, or if you have any questions, of course, and we'll try to look over there from time to time. Okay, so let's continue on here with the questions. And the next one here is from 666 Jamie 666. And they say, I have a Sony PVM, and on certain colors I'm getting a similar color bleed or smearing that always goes to the right. Any ideas what that could be? I have heard that replacing caps will help. Okay, we'll just call you Jamie for short. Jamie, anytime you're having color bleeding or color, or dim or kind of, really dry looking color, cap kit's a great way to solve that in a lot of cases. And so definitely the first step that we would recommend is installing a cap kit on this monitor and seeing how it works. Of course, these Sony PVMs are very high dollar CRT monitors. They're very nice. And so, installing cap kit, not sure how hard it's going to be to do that. Not sure how difficult it is, but get in there, take a look at it, see how many caps are on it, and then just take the values off and order you some more. You should be in good shape. Now we also have a post, of course, course on installing a cap kit with Michael and Tim that we would highly recommend that you check out if you haven't already. And it'll give you some great information on how to do that, how to install the cap kit, how to read the values, and, hopefully get your PVM back up and running. Color bleed, of course, very common in arcade monitors, CRT monitors as a whole. And so, you can try adjusting colors. But if you've already tried to adjust it and you're still getting these color bleeds, definitely going to be time for a cap kit. So Jamie, hopefully answers your question, and good luck getting that Sony PVM back up and running 100%. I really do think that it's not going to be as bad as you think. So, okay, let's check some things here. Again, guys, I'm kind of doing this as I go. So hopefully, hopefully everything's working, and I'm going to open up the live chat again just to make sure that we still have it. Looks like everything's good. So let's go ahead and go to the next question here, and that's from The Whammy. I guess that's how you say that, The Whammy. He says, I'm having trouble now with my arcade. There is no image, but the sound is fine. I'm thinking that maybe the CRT broke or something, but I don't know how to test it. Can you guys help me with any tip or something? Thanks. Now, The Whammy here, it sounds like he's having a very similar issue to what we were experiencing earlier with the Mortal Kombat machine that we talked about. There's no image, but the sound is fine, of course. Again, leads us to think, like I said, playing blind. So, again, we're going to recommend for you kind of the same stuff we recommend earlier for the Mortal Kombat. Make sure you check out our post on troubleshooting games that are playing blind. Great information in that. If you get back to us with your make and model, we can help you that way. Or you can ship it off, like we mentioned before. There are several people that we recommend for monitor repair that can help you out. And so, again, we'd urge you to go back here earlier in the podcast, earlier in the live show, and check that out and see, and just kind of look at some of the stuff that we told the person earlier. And who was that? I had Jackie, I believe. Jackie had the Mortal Kombat. We told her some stuff. You guys are both sharing very similar symptoms between your arcade games. So hopefully, The Whammy, hopefully you can take some of the stuff that we told Jamie and kind of, or Jackie, excuse me, and take it from there and, do the same kind of thing on yours as far as troubleshooting is concerned. Of course, if you have model and make, we can help you more with the troubleshooting. So definitely get back with us with that information, and we'll try to help you out. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, the next one here is from Matt. And Matt says, hi, I have a vintage Frogger that was converted to a 4-in-1 Frogger Miss Pac-Man Donkey Kong Galaga by a local company that no longer exists. I want to upgrade to a 60-in-1. Can I buy the 60-in-1 Jamma board and just swap it out with my current 4-in-1 and then have 60 games? Attached is a picture of my current 4-in-1 board. I was thinking since it was already converted to Jamma, it would be a simple swap. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. Thanks, Matt. Now, and Matt also sent in a picture of his 4-in-1 board so we could get an idea of what that looks like. And you'll notice that it's pretty much standard Jamma. So, it's a standard Jamma game, Matt. And these 4-in-1 boards very similar to the 60-in-1 boards in build and everything. So, yes, it should be a quick swap. But Frogger, if I recall correctly, does not have any buttons on it. And so, for a lot of the games on the 60-in-1, Super Cobra, Galaga, of course, you're going to need at least 1 or 2 buttons in order to play those games. Most of the games on the 60-in-1, you can get away with just 2 buttons. There's a couple that have 3. Gunsmoke is probably the biggest example of that. But you can rig Gunsmoke to only use 1 button in the dip switch settings. And so, with that said, in most cases with 16-in-1 boards, we try to at least install 2 buttons just so we can play things like Super Cobra, which is a good game. But you can get away maybe with 1, but you probably want to disable some of those games that use 2. And of course, 3, of course, is ideal if you want to play Gunsmoke, but that's really the only game that I can think of off the top of my head where it affects it. And so, with your Frogger, yes, it should be a simple swap. So the games that you currently are playing on it should be fine. The Frogger, Miss Pac-Man, Donkey Kong. If you have Donkey Kong, then you probably already have at least 1 button. In Galaga, you probably already have at least 1 button installed because both Galaga and Donkey Kong require 1 button. Donkey Kong, of course, for jump. Galaga, of course, for shooting. So you probably already have 1 button, but there's going to be some 2-button games that you won't be able to play, of course, with that setup. So you may think about installing a 2nd button, which we have a video on and post on, of course. And you may also think about even installing a 3rd button if a game like Gunsmoke appeals to you. So, but for the most part, should be a pretty simple swap. You will need to maybe add an additional button or so. So, but as long as you do that, you should be in good shape. So, just maybe a little bit of wiring that you'll have to do, but if you do that, you should be able to play all the 60 games fine. So, hopefully answers your question, Matt, and good luck swapping the 60-in-1 board in for your 4-in-1. Okay, let's move on here. Now, this one was not on episode 2, the standard episode 2 that we did. This is from Kevlar121. We just got this a couple of days ago. And he asked, do you know where I can get a light gun with kickback recoil for a USB main machine? I know a lot of you guys out there build main machines, and of course a lot of our advice kind of, works on both arcade and main machines. And so we get a lot of questions about MAME, and light guns, of course, with most light guns, standard ones anyway, you'll need a CRT. A lot of these MAME ones, though, work more like the Wii remotes would for the Wii console. They do have tracking in them and all that good stuff, potentiometers that track position. And so with that in mind, yes, Kevlar, we do have a place where you can get a light gun with kickback recoil. And it's the same place we've ordered a lot of our MAME stuff from in the past, and that's Ultimark. We love Ultimark. Ultimark has been making MAME stuff forever, it seems like. Keyboard encoders, video cards. We've used iPacks, JPacks. We've used, arcade VGAs in the past. And so they're one of the major retailers that offers a lot of different MAME options. And so when it comes to light guns, they also have an option for that. They have the aim track light gun, which you can see here. Now, you will have to buy that with the recoil kit, and I don't think it comes installed even if you buy the two together. I think that you still have to install it yourself, which is why I put do-it-yourself recoil kit. Now, the only thing is that if you live here in the States, it's a little pricey because Ultimark, I believe, is based out of the UK. But even if you're not paying for the extra shipping, it's still kind of pricey. As you can see, it's around $150. I think it's a bit cheaper than that, to be honest with you. But, $150 per light gun, I mean, give or take, is kind of pricey to me. So you're looking about $300 for the pair. And so, it just depends on if it's really worth it for you as far as light guns are concerned. Of course, there's a lot of great light gun games that you can play in MAME. You can play Area 51. Of course, I've got Police Trainer behind me. You can play Police Trainer. All of those great MAME games that that use light guns. But at the same time, I mean, are those games worth spending an extra $150, $300, depending on if you want one or two for those games? And so that's going to be totally up to you, Kevlar, as to whether or not it's the case. But Ultimark does sell that aim track light gun with the recoil kit. So if that's what you're looking for, that's probably where you need to go. Ultimark.com, I believe, is the website. I didn't put it on there, but if you do a search for Ultimark, you will find it. And like I said, we've used their stuff for years. JPacks, iPacks, arcade VGAs, all different versions of them, and I've always had good luck with them. It's amazing when keyboard encoders came around. Before we were having to hack up keyboards in order to get the buttons to register to different keystrokes. And so keyboard encoders have fixed a lot of that, which is great. They have analog encoders now for steering wheels and other peripherals that you can use with your MAME cabinet. So great stuff from Ultimark. Highly recommend them for anybody who's going to be building MAME stuff. A little pricey, but man, for what you get some really great stuff. And so again, Ultimark.com, they do have the aim track guns with the recoil that you're looking for. So okay, and this is another one here, I'm going to move on here, that we also did not cover in episode 2, so kind of a bonus for everybody. And that's from Julio. And Julio says, I'm going to build my own arcade cabinet, but can I connect 4 joysticks on Jamma to the 512-in-1 Game Elf board? And this is a real interesting question. Of course, these Game Elf boards are very popular. The 419 or so in one that I'm putting in this cabinet over here is, of course, a Game Elf board. We've seen a lot of variations for this. The Arcade Classics that I have over here also has a Game Elf board in it, a horizontal version. And so basically, Julio wants to know, if I buy that Game Elf board, the 512-in-1, can I wire up 4 joysticks to it on Jamma? And, everything I've read says I don't think so. And so if we look here, this is the wiring for it. This is straight from the manual for the 619-in-1, which is the new version of the 512-in-1. But if you look at the Jamma pinouts, you'll notice it basically only has pinouts for 1 and 2 player. And there's no kick harness, as I said here, no kick connector for additional players. And so there's really nothing there. Now, there is a USB port on there, and it talks about that in the manual for using a PS2 controller, I guess, or something like it, that's what this kind of mimics, or a USB gamepad. But even in that section, it only talks about 1 player and 2 players. So although you may be able to support additional players through the USB port via hub, it's not mentioned in the manual. So it'd be something you definitely need to test before you actually go forward with it. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say no, that you can't support 4 players with it. But, if you've got enough hacking skill and talent, you may be able to figure out a way to make it happen. But if you're counting on it, I would say no. If you're up for some experimentation, it may be worth it. But if you want to do 4 players, you may look into more of a maybe computer MAME setup, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, or maybe a Raspberry Pi type setup or something like that. Those setups probably are more conducive to wiring 4 players on a control panel for. And I know there's a lot of great 4-player games out there that we all enjoy. Simpsons, X-Men, of course I've got NFL Blitz, NBA Showtime, NBA Jam, NBA Hang Time, and we can name all of the great 4-player games. And of course Dungeons & Dragons, one of my favorite as well. So, all those games are great on 4-player. A lot of those can be played in 2-player mode as well. But, there's just not the same as having all 4 of your friends around the same console. So I totally understand where you're coming from, Julio. But I don't think you're going to be able to do it with the 512 in 1 game off board or the 619 in 1 board either. So, that's really what it comes down to. So, it's just one of those things. And so I'm sorry about that. Probably better to go with a MAME PC type setup or Raspberry Pi setup instead. Okay, now I did have another question on here, but I'm going to save that for when Tim's here because there's some specific stuff that Keith is his name, asked Tim, and so we're going to skip that one. And we're going to move here to Tim's tech tip, which he talked about a little bit in the last one. I'm just going to summarize it because he's not here to really talk about it. He did talk about this in episode 2, though, and he had this game where they had painted this area several times, and every time it would show wear. And I forget which game this is, but you'll see the wear, just from the side of this. And so what they decided to do instead was go with, a cheap vinyl application. And so he bought some red vinyl off eBay for a super cheap price, and I can't even remember how much at the moment, but it was pretty cheap for a whole roll of it. And after it looked like this. And you can just see the difference in, painting it versus putting the vinyl over it. And apparently it's rated for outdoor use, which means that this stuff should be really tough and be able to take some of the beatings that it gets at Chuck E. Cheese. Look, if it can withstand Chuck E. Cheese, it'll be fine in your home arcade. So, I don't think there's a problem there. But Tim's whole point was that in some of the areas where you have a lot of wear, where you may have painted several times and you're still having wear in that area, might consider doing vinyl application instead. It's not expensive. And if you get the indoor-outdoor stuff, it's pretty tough. And so, again, pretty cheap stuff, good to go. Okay, guys, well, I'm getting near the end of the show here, actually, it looks like. And so if anybody has stuff in the chat room, I still have the chat up. I would love to answer some questions again if I can. So, if you're tuning in and you're watching us tonight, please let me know, and we'll go from there. So hopefully we can get all that set up. Let's see. Okay, it looks like we got everything here. Okay, let's continue to go on here. And the next thing I have, we're done with the questions unless somebody has them for live chat. The next thing I really have here is the Texas Pinball Festival 2017 discussion. And so we'll go ahead and talk about that. Again, a lot of this we went over in episode 2, but the stream quality was bad, so I wanted to go over it here again. And so what we have here is Texas Pinball 2017 discussion. What games do we play? Announcements from the show. Overall thoughts. Now, here's the thing. A lot of this stuff we covered on QA Podcast episode S22. And so we would highly recommend that you guys go back and watch, or actually listen to. You can't watch that. We highly recommend that you go back and listen to that so that you can get all that taken care of. So, yeah, so we'll do that another time. Hopefully we can get all that set up. So, yeah, we'll do it another time. Not a problem. And so, but again, question and answer podcast episode S22 has some great stuff in it, so you guys can check that out. So let's continue on here. And it looks like we've got some games. So these are some of the games that we played, and I put them up here so you guys can see. But we played Batman, the 66 Batman, which is a lot of fun. Got to play Dialed In, which was also very fun, and Aerosmith was on the list, and Alien. And we talk a lot about that on the question and answer podcast, so I'm not going to talk much more about that, but we'll continue on here. And then we also got to play Jetsons, which was interesting. Probably the biggest thing about Jetsons was it had kind of a push-button launcher, but when you push the button in, it gave you like a power meter on the screen that you had to kind of adjust. And so it was a little bit different the way that was. And then on the podcast, somebody had mentioned that there was a Wizard Blocks down the floor. Didn't get to play it, took a picture of it. But of course, this is one of the games that was planned for the Pinball 2000 platform back in the day. And And then we also have this little tiki looking one that you guys can see over there. And we got actually an email about that from the guy who created it, but I don't know if I can find it at the moment, so he'll have to forgive me for that. But we did get an email from him, and it was pretty neat to see he had put a lot of the information on there about how he had made it, and it was really just some really cool stuff. And so he put a lot of work into that. So good for him. I forget the name Polynesia, I think is what he called it. Polynesia, I'm pretty sure. Here it is. He said, just listens to your... Yeah, this is from Damien is the guy's name. He said, just listened to your podcast and heard what I think is a mention of Polynesia, my tiki-themed pinball machine, at 48 minutes-ish. It is a re-theme of a 1968 William Student Prince, and he gives the Internet Pinball Database, entry for that. I have kept the original mechs, etc., but I've replaced the plastics, back glass, cabinet, and back box. The playfield is the original, but sanded down and resurfaced with rice straw paper that was laminated and stained with the Polynesian-style design patterns. The replacement plastics are laser-cut mahogany. The side rails and lockdown bar are zebra wood, with a mother-of-pearl inlay on the lockdown bar. The marquetry veneer sides use figured maple, ebony, and zebra wood. The legs are sapple and laminated bamboo. The back glass is a burlap and banana leaf paper, and the tiki statue I hand carved out of beech wood, free storm blown wood. Not gonna let it go to waste. I did all the work at the Dallas Makerspace with lots of help from the gang in the Vector area. And so, man, I tell you what, just a lot of work that Damien put into that. It was really neat to see at the show. And so, for anybody who was able to do that, then it was really great stuff. So again, just really, really good stuff from him. So we appreciate him sharing that with us. Let's go ahead and go on here. We got Alice Cooper's Nightmare Castle from Spooky Pinball was one of the announcements that was made. And then we also had an announcement for a new Elvira pinball machine from Whizbang. We believe, maybe Stern, but I think since Des Nordman and Greg Ferreras were there, I think it's going to be Whizbang. So those were just some of the announcements that happened at the Texas Pinball Festival. Again, if you want some more information about the Texas Pinball Festival, make sure you check out S22 of the Question and Answer podcast, where me, Tim, Eric, and Chris all talk about the show. So great stuff there. Well, guys, I think that pretty much ends the show here, and so we'll leave it at that. But I do want to thank everybody for watching. Of course, I think that we had some technical difficulties because the live chat, I noticed, it doesn't look like you guys are getting it, and so sorry about that, guys. We'll fix that hopefully for next time. The good news is that I'm recording all of this, so you will get a copy of it very soon that you guys will be able to watch. And so, but hopefully we covered everything that we covered in episode 2. For those of you guys who, obviously had some problems with streaming and things like that. So, but we do have some more questions for the live show. I'm hoping that Tim will be back here, and we may try to do another episode before next month. That's my hope anyway, and so hopefully you guys can join us for that. So let's wrap it up here, and while we do, let me give you a couple of contact information entries here. And I will move this out of the way. There we go. Okay, we have our email address at questions@arcaderepairtips.com. questions@arcaderepairtips.com. Of course, if you put live show in the subject, it'll get on the show, guys. And we've already had a couple of you guys do that, and I'm saving those for the next show when Tim is with me. So again, questions@arcaderepairtips.com. And, I do want to remind people, and we've sent out a lot of responses lately, that, of course, we take arcade repair questions mostly. But if you have any questions about anything, if there's anything we can help you with, if you're having a hard time right now, just need somebody to talk to, we're always here for you. So send us an email, questions@arcaderepairtips.com, if we can help you with arcade repair or anything else that's going on in your life. And so let's continue on here, of course. Oh, overhead shot. We have our YouTube page, and that's where you guys are watching this show, and that's at youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. Of course, the comments from the last show will be covered on the next episode, just like we covered the episode 1 questions now. Those will be covered. The ones from this episode and episode 2 that weren't stream related we'll cover on the episode 3, hopefully. So there you go. There's also our podcast email. Now remember, the podcast is audio only, and it involves our friends Eric and Chris. And so they host the Question and Answer podcast. And if you have any podcast questions, you can email them at podcast@arcaderepairtips.com. You can also subscribe to their show on iTunes at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com or Stitcher at stitcher.arcaderepairtips.com. We recommend you going to both those places and leaving them a review. I know they would appreciate it. And again, we have our social media pages. We have our Facebook page at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com, and we have our Twitter feed at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. Both those are available to you. Some great areas that you can go to get some great information from us. The Facebook page, we've had a lot of great, interesting posts lately. Of course, Louis does a lot of the work there, so we want to thank Louis for his support. And the Twitter feed is a great place for you to go to interact with us and also get a lot of the same information you get on the Facebook page, so that way you don't have to be on Facebook. You can just be on Twitter and get the same stuff. Well, guys, I want to thank you for tolerating me today. And it looks like we did have some problems broadcasting the stream, so I am going to put this up on YouTube, the recorded version, because we were able to do that now. So I'll be doing that here shortly. So that's probably why we didn't get anybody in the live chat, I would imagine. And so sorry about that, but at least we were able to record it this time, so we have it for posterity. But I do want to thank everybody who tried to join us live. Sorry it didn't work out. We'll work on it for next time. And hopefully Tim will be here next time, and all of his family issues will be sorted out by that point, I'm hoping. So again, keep his family in your thoughts and prayers. I know that they're going through a difficult time right now, and so hopefully all this will settle out though for him. So again, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate it. And I guess I'm going to sign off here. So guys, remember, here at Arcade Repair Tips, when we fix the game, we play the game. Thanks for joining me, guys, and we'll see you at the next live show. Thanks, and take care.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. All of our past episodes are available on our website at arcaderepairtips.com or on our YouTube page. This show is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before attempting to repair any coin-operated machines yourself. The preceding program is a Varcade Entertainment production.